and we'll have fun.
Absolutely.
So it takes a few minutes before it loads.
Yeah, I'm seeing the prompts come up on my screen.
Oh, good, good. I was thinking I probably need a dragon joke in there or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they'll speak when they need to.
right, right. So hopefully we're here somewhere. It should pop up. Okay. Oh, that's do you what happens is I don't wait for it and it causes problems, so I just have to wait for it.
Mhm.
So we'll wait a second. Um, this is when I get in trouble, is when I want to control it.
Don't we all?
Uh-huh. So it should have went somewhere else though. That's the thing. Um,
My prompt says live on Facebook right now.
oh, it does.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't see it here.
yeah. That mine.
Of course. So
It,
let
and the
me.
recording, my little recording light's blinking away too. So
Okay, that's good. Um, yeah, I don't get it at all. So I will just have to wing it here.
that's where we go.
That's where we go. And okay, so I'm just gonna, let's go here. Let's just go back to Zoom. Yeah, it's not showing the Facebook page at all.
Really?
And so let's go here to escape. Let's go back here. We have 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, and everyone, thank you for tuning in. If you are hearing this, I'm the only one that's not. So that's kind of funny. Okay, let's try this end here. Okay, let's try. It should have just, now everyone's being very interested. I can't, yeah. So, we'll go out of there. I think this is the one it should be on. Let's see what happens if I do that. Okay, nothing there. Oh, I don't want that at all. I don't want to lose you either. But we have 3 minutes. Let's try what happens. And you can totally see it on your end. That's
Yeah.
not,
It
that's
says live.
not fair, Jim.
It's live. It's live on Facebook on my side.
Oh,
So,
that is so funny because I am just not getting it anywhere. Come on, baby, talk to me.
that's bizarre.
Yeah, yeah, it's not
I
here.
mean, my recording thing is blinking, which I don't know if that
Right.
means it's.
Yeah, I know. I have that it's recording, but it doesn't bring me to the Cosmic Oracle page.
Huh, I'm
Is
beaming
where I should
somewhere.
be. So let me, and I let me, but maybe if I go here, Facebook here, and go to.
My dragons have redirected it. They have their own agenda.
Yes, yeah. It's just strange. I don't know what to say. And I don't want to, I could pull you out and pull you back in again, but I don't think we're going to do that.
Okay.
Because if you're getting it on, you can see it on your
Yeah.
Facebook. It means everyone can see it. I just won't be able, oh, here we go. Someone likes it already. So,
Okay.
yeah.
We're good.
Yes, there it is. I don't know what to say. It just
And I
came
don't want
on.
to, I could pull you out and pull you back in again, but I don't think we're going to do that.
Okay.
Because if you're getting it on, you can see it on your Facebook.
Yeah.
It means everyone can see it. I just won't be able, oh, here we go. Someone likes it already.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yes, there it is.
I don't know what to say.
It just
And I
came
don't want
on.
to, I could pull you
Okay.
out and pull you back in again, but I don't think we're going to do that.
Okay.
Because if you're getting it on, you can see it on your
Yeah.
Facebook. It means everyone can see it. I just won't be able, oh, here we go. Someone likes it already.
Okay.
We're not saying anything, right?
There it is. I don't know what to say.
It just
And I
came
don't want to, I should pull you out and pull you back in again, but I don't think we're going to do that.
It's on a delay loop already.
If you're getting it on, you can see it on your Facebook. It means everyone can see it. I just won't be able, oh, here we go. Someone likes it
This is
already.
hilarious. This is
It's
hilarious.
different.
Okay, so, okay, either I go out of here,
It's on a delay loop already.
a way delayed loop. So let's see if I take it.
I just want to be able, oh, here we go. Someone likes
No,
it.
that doesn't do it either.
It's different.
Okay. Oh my God, I have 1 minute. Oh, I gotta stop. Okay. Okay. Either I go out of here.
It's on a delay
It
loop
is.
already.
Did I lose you with that?
Nope, I'm still here.
Okay, but it's not, is it recording on Facebook? It
Yeah,
says-
it says live on Facebook on my end.
Okay, I won't be able to do my normal. So let's
Okay.
let's bring you into
The radio.
the radio show because they're gonna go, what? You're never late. Okay, so here we go. Delta server and oh, we're right on time.
Wonderful.
Inaction is no longer an option. It's time to raise our voices as a cacophony of thunder and lightning and tell the masters no more. This is Nighthawk, and I say, for myself, no more. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, because freedom is slipping away. Barbara Jean Lindsey is an internationally acclaimed psychic, spiritual healer, author, and founder of the online mystery school, Esoteric University. As the Cosmic Oracle, she is a conduit to the powers that be to answer your questions about your future self, past lives, current career, love, and destiny. She shines light into the darkness to illuminate what was.
I love it.
Does not take the place of any medical, legal, or financial advice given to you by qualified professionals and are not a substitute for medical, legal, or financial advice. If you need a doctor, call a doctor. If you need to be expanded, call the Cosmic.
Welcome everyone to the Cosmic Oracle Show. This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey. It is Friday all day long, March 12th, 2021. It's March already. God, where did the months already go? It was just yesterday when, it's 14 months since COVID. It's kind of like how many years before Christ? It's kind of like, before and after AD, BC. So it's before COVID. So this is, hopefully we're getting to the end of this and we'll be talking about that maybe with our guests this afternoon, this evening, no matter wherever you are on the planet. And I want to say a special shout out to my listeners out in Australia. You guys are amazing. And I just want to thank you for your growing exponentially there. And so I don't know what's happening, but I really appreciate it. So shout out to all of you in Australia who listen to the show, and we have great conversations, and thank you for all the emails and all the good wishes and all your positive vibes. I really appreciate it. So tonight we want to thank you for supporting Revolution Radio. We're an all volunteer station, which means that none of us get paid for this. We're doing it because we are here to help humanity raise its consciousness and open its hearts and let's change some things that need to be changed here. And we do that with our guests that are on our station here. We have like over 80 programs, and this is my 6th year. Believe it or not, every Friday night. It started out on Tuesday nights and Wednesdays, and now it's been on Fridays from 5 to 7. Every night, Pacific Standard Time. It's run out of Sierra Madre, California. That's near LA. Don't hold that against me though. So Sierra Madre means beautiful Mother Mountains, and back up to over 100,000 acres of forest land. So it's really beautiful here. And so I just want to thank you, give generously, and how you do that is you go to freedomslips.com. That's freedomslips.com. Hit that donate button, give whatever you can, $5, $10, become a patron for less than a movie ticket. Can't go to a movie anyway. So just give whatever you can, and we really appreciate it. Keep the lights on. Also, you can support my work. I'm an author. For those that don't know it, here's my book, Dying for the Light. Talks about my near-death experience in 1989 and my experiences in the last 30 years from that experience. Then I have another little book called The White Light Meditation. It's the gift that was given to me by the group of beings called the Council that I met on the other side. And then my latest book is Seized by Sekhmet, an Egyptian goddess revolution. And it's a compilation of many stories about people now in 2021. I forget when did I do this, 2018, 2019, something like that. It was published, but it's a compilation of books and beautiful artwork about people's experiences with Sekhmet that are alive and well here now today. So an ancient Egyptian goddess is speaking to the people. And so I have a group of wonderful artists telling their stories and experiences from dentists, lawyers, beauticians, all sorts of walks of life. So please go to Amazon.com and buy my book, support my work. I also do private readings, psychic readings. I've been doing those for 30 years and have done over, I stopped counting at 10,000 people. So, so I appreciate that. You can reach me at Barbara Jean Lindsey on Facebook or barbarajeanlindsey.com. That's BARBARAJEANLINDSEY.com. And also I have Esoteric University that you can check out all my classes. So I really want to say thank you to all those that tuned in for my class on Wednesday night about, we had a whole show on about death and dying and the afterlife. So it was pretty fun. And I try and do a class once a month. And so now we want to get to our dear friend Jim, who's been waiting so patiently. And for you, I mean, I had a lot of response on Facebook for all of my Facebook listeners. Thank you for tuning in today. And about dragons. I mean, when you say dragons, all these different ideas and visions come up in your head. And so we're going to talk specifically about Jim's work in the Great Silver Dragon series. And Jim is a lifelong resident of Wayne County, Ohio. He's married with 2 sons, 2 dogs, and 2 cats. And he owns and is president of JD Producing Incorporated and a longtime member of the Ohio Oil and Gas Association. And he spent 35 years producing crude oil and natural gas from the north central area of Ohio. He's a senior member of the Professional Bowlers Association. We have to talk about that, from 2010 to 2011, and winner of the Pat Peterson Award for Central Region of the PBA. He's also a member of several societies. Now we'll have to ask him if these are secret societies or not, and that he's interested in developing concepts for personal growth and achievement. And I mean, I could just keep going on about all of his work, but we'll just bring him on and we'll get started. We're going to be talking about the Silver Dragon. And I have his beautiful books here before we bring him on. And we'll start with his first series, this amazing book. It's Ian. It's Ian and the Great Silver Dragon, Bry-Ankh. Ooh,
There you
cool.
go.
Welcome to the show, Jim.
Hello, Barbara. Wonderful to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. And I met you with my dear, dear friend who had a birthday yesterday. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, Michael Lee Hill and Sarah. And we were, where were we, in Florida? Or
No, up
where-
in Ohio, his near his home up in Elyria.
Okay,
Yeah.
in Ohio?
I can't, we've got a brain fade there on what, Kirkland, near
In
Kirkland.
Kirkland, Ohio, yeah. And so we were all went there for a special get together with Michael E. Hill and Chief Golden Light Eagle
Yes,
and my good friend Garrett Duncan, and that's where I met you
yes,
and my dear friend at the time, Bill Holman, and we were there to work with the Crystal Skull from the Mitchell Hedges Crystal Skull. And yes,
that was wild.
it was, wasn't it? So
It was
you weren't
unexpected.
expecting that, right?
No, Michael had told me it was traveling with it, but he really didn't say that he wanted me to have a session with it, more or less just to take it. Okay, there it is. Wow, that's really neat. It's pretty spectacular. But when he said, no, you need to spend some time with the skull. Okay. And that was interesting.
Yeah. Can you turn your volume up just a little bit for me, please?
Oh, let's
Thank
see here.
you.
Let's see if I can do this and not mess this up. How's that?
That's better.
Better?
Yes,
Great.
yes. Thank you.
Wonderful.
And so what was your experience with the Crystal Skull?
It was surreal in the aspect that the engineering is just spectacular, and the formation of it and the artwork, the artisanship that went into it is just mind blowing. But the overwhelming thing that I got from it wasn't unfamiliar. It actually felt like I had worked with it before.
Mm.
I was not afraid of it. I was not in awe of it. It was like an old friend that I had rediscovered.
Mhm.
And that's a weird feeling, but it's the one that I had.
Yeah, I had a real similar experience with it as well, with the skull. That I tried not to think about it, right? Well, you didn't have
Right.
time to think about it, so that's
No, I mean, it's just one of those situations like, okay, you don't know the rules of what you can or can't do. And the caretaker is kind of guiding you through what to do and how to
right.
open up. But for me, I could look into it and I just saw the cosmos. I saw this vastness in the matrix of it. It was like, this thing is just incredible.
Right,
And it's just like, there's no way this was man-made. It's wherever it came from, it wasn't from us. So,
right. And there's just that it's otherworldly, right? It's kind of like when they say when you see a spaceship or for the first time, or you talk with it extraterrestrial or AI for the first time, there's that that phase, that part of it that's there's a word for it, that not extraordinary experience, but a degree of strangeness to it.
yes, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's not scary. It's not overwhelming.
No.
It's a remembrance that somehow seems to be inside. It's like, okay, you're touching back on, you're circling. I hate to use that word, circling back, but you're coming back to something you've done before.
Right. And I think because the skull symbol itself, I
Mhm.
mean, the skull for me represents death, right? There's no, or can represent rebirth, or it can represent afterlife, or it can represent all these different things. But
Mhm.
usually, why they chose a skull image and that it's made in exact replica of a human skull. If they were to take it apart, it's exactly perfect.
Right. Yeah.
That just is
It,
how they.
it's just a phenomenal experience, something that
Yeah,
you never expected to do, but when the opportunity was there, it was like, okay, I've got to do this. So jumped through the hoops and made it happen.
right. And for me, it was the dolphins on each side of the
Yeah.
cheekbone. There's
Yeah.
a dolphin carved, and I'm thinking, what's the symbology to that as well?
Yeah. Well, I could look at it from a standpoint of sentient beings in the oceans, which are more the earth than the land, that have been here way longer than us. And
Yeah,
there's a consciousness in them. So why wouldn't it be incorporated into the matrix of the skull?
yeah,
It would make sense.
Atlantean maybe, or
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, that
There's,
sort of
there's a
whole
lot of
thing.
connections there.
Yeah. And when I first saw it, what I did was I cried like a baby.
Yeah.
but I'm a crier, so
I just buzzed. I just really had this energy level went up through the roof, and
yeah,
it was
yeah.
like, wow, it
No,
felt really great.
for me, the experience, when I first experienced it a few years ago at Contact in the Desert, and it never left me. It has never left me.
No,
That was,
yeah, I have the picture on my desk here from it, and it's like, yeah, okay, it's part
yeah,
of me now.
that's the kind of the funniest part. Like, I choose you, you're in the group.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind
right.
of like you're in the loop.
Do your
And-
job,
Yes.
be happy, do your job, and everything will work out fine.
Exactly. So we have that in common, and so so I met you. I just and you gave me your books that night, and so we have your 3 books. We have the first one, Ian the Great Silver Dragon, Bry-Ankh, and I'll just show them really quick. And then we have the second book, Ian and the Great Silver Dragon, A Hero is Reborn.
Yeah, that's actually the third.
Oh, it is. I thought. Oh, yeah, it is. Shoot, I had it.
Friendship. Yeah.
Right. And Ian the Great Silver Dragon, A Friendship Begins. So it goes more like that. And then you just sent me this one. I love the feel of the cover on it. I'm a very tactile person. So the Tales of Ian and Bry-Ankh, the Great Silver Dragon. So they're all together.
Yeah. I wanted to do 1 volume combination.
Yeah.
And put them together like that. And I wanted to use the blue color for Michael and the Ankh for the Egyptian connection.
Right. So we'll get to that. I want to talk about that for sure. But let's start with, okay, Jen, so why dragons?
Well, let's start at the beginning of how the concept developed. You asked about societies and things in my bio. Well, I'm a member of something called the Global Information Network. And the Global Information Network is an organization that was originally founded by Kevin Trudeau. And if you know anything about Kevin, he was the fellow that did the natural cures they don't want you to know about, and the weight loss cures they don't want you to know about. Well, the weight loss book got him into trouble with the government, and he's still in confinement under a ruling from a federal judge in Chicago 7.5 years ago. And he is basically a prisoner and cannot have his freedom yet. But he started the Global Information Network. And part of the Global Information Network is to teach people how to do things on their own, to become self-reliant and understand the workings of the universe, especially the law of attraction and how things are really put together to work. Well, part of that information is originally sent to people in a CD set called Your Wish is Your Command, which is 14 different CDs that explain success and the steps you go through to get there. So I'm halfway through the levels of the organization that are available right now, as far as the steps you can ascend. I've got some other titles within it. But through that process of that learning and being with these people for the last 10.5 years, I came to the conclusion that I needed to share some of what I had learned in a way that other people could grasp onto, especially the younger generation.
Mm-hmm.
That led me to the idea of, okay, maybe I can write some sort of a book and explain it in child terms, these complicated principles. And my son, youngest son, is named Ian, the youngest one is named Ian, and my oldest is named Brian, spelled with a Y like in the books. And my wife found dragon books at the library when Ian was little, and he loved them. So anytime she found a dragon book, she would buy a dragon book at a bookstore or bring them home, and he had these volumes of dragon books. So one day the flashes come to you at different times in different ways. And I said, well, what if I would take a look at these dragon books and maybe I can make a story with the boys and the dragon? And from that concept and using what I had learned from Global Information, I started to formulate an idea of how to present this. And I said originally, so why don't I just take and do 1 or 2 of the CDs as a basis and then write a book about those 1 or 2 CDs. So that's what the first 2 books, the chapter books, are kind of directly related to what's happening in that CD series. And the idea is to teach young people some of the principles for success in life. And that was my vehicle for doing it. And then the last book evolved into a much more grander scale of things, of interactions and expanded characters and heroes and villains and plots and all that good stuff that good writers are supposed to have. And that's kind of how the development started.
Yeah, and so it's like, did you know the end before you started at the beginning, or was it revealed to you as you were writing?
No, this is the really weird part about things. This is where Michael is talking about dragons and the energy from the Native Americans and the
Mhm.
other forces that are out there that are dragon based. I will honestly go back and look at some of the stuff I read or wrote and reread it and says, wow, that's really good. And at the time, it just kind of flowed. I'm
Mm.
not one of those people to sit here and do outlines and do lots of pre-sketching and things like that. The last book I did some outline work because I was working with a publicist that was supposedly going to help me, never paying out, to formulate more of a proper presentation.
Mhm.
But I would just basically, I start with an idea in my head and I write as a conversationalist. So I have this dialogue going with myself and my character, or the character within the character, and I just start writing the dialogue
Mhm.
and let it expand from that. And it has worked out to this point pretty well.
Yeah, I read them all in one afternoon
Okay. Wow.
until late in the evening. I'm a really fast reader though,
Yeah.
but it was so good. I'm thinking, I felt like one of the kids, like I was like a kid. You were reading to me, and that kid part of me that
That's kind of I should say my literary style, if you want to call it that, is a
Mhm.
conversation. I don't want to take and lecture because that
Right.
doesn't work. You lose people.
Right,
And to make it, or like, okay, if you're sitting down with a bunch of people at a campfire and you're starting to tell stories, these are the stories you could tell.
right, right. And with this, it's like, um, the way that you're just starting. Let's do just the first book. So,
Okay.
and so you started, and was that when you were going to finish it? That was going to be it? You were done?
No, I knew there would be more.
Okay,
I had that plan from the beginning. I just didn't
okay.
know how many.
You just didn't know how many, and there could
Right.
be more and more and more, right? Or
Yeah.
that's
I've
what
got
I kind of see.
I've got the title in my head for the next one after the last big one,
Oh, that's
uh,
cool.
because and I'm working on another book right now that's an adult book.
Well, and I was seeing it would make a great movie. Have you had people come?
No, and this is the strange part, and it's you're an author, so you kind of
Right,
understand how the market works. And if you're not somebody or know somebody who knows somebody, you don't get seen. There are just so many books in the marketplace that
right.
if there's no flag on you saying, hey, look at this guy who doesn't have credentials, nobody knows. And
Mm,
Amazon with the KDP makes it great for people like myself to self-publish
right.
because you can get it into print easily, but
Yes.
that doesn't do anything for marketing and it does nothing for finding an agent.
They don't tell you that, right?
No, I
You
found out the
you
hard
know what
way.
you don't know, right? When you're
Yeah,
starting, you're
yeah.
so innocent with it.
Tens of thousands of dollars spent on people trying to take and set things up, and we'll do this and we'll that. And it's
Oh,
up
yeah.
to no. If you don't have marketing in your blood,
Yep.
you better find one, or you're going to have to just slog it out and be patient and hope
Yeah.
something falls into place.
Yeah, because you can have the best thing in the world, but if it's dead in the water, it's dead in the
Well,
water.
yeah. I mean, even the editing, the
Oh,
books, the first two books you have were the original books,
mhm.
and they were okay, but not nearly as good as what the ones are right now that are at Amazon because they're print on demand because I re-edited them.
Right, right,
The Tales of Ian is the edited versions of all three,
right,
which is a better read than than the ones individually.
right. But there's something I like about them being individual too. I don't
Yeah,
know what that is, but there's something, the feel of it, and I love the lettering. It's a larger lettering,
yeah,
so it makes it a little softer, a little easier to
right.
read.
For the that middle grade reader status, it was important to try and get something that would be just that. I didn't want them to go much the first few, they go much over an hour to read so that
Mm.
they could absorb it. Because again, from some of the training I had through Global, your attention span has a limit. And once
Right.
once you saturate your brain, you got to shut it off because you can't, you're engaged, but you're not remembering. And
Right.
if you want to remember, then you have to take and go back, let the brain simmer down, let the ideas get caught in the right spots upstairs, and then start over again. That's why I wanted to keep them a certain length.
I love that. And here's a wonderful image.
Yes.
Your illustrator. Look at that.
Yeah. I found a very talented artist up in Cleveland who was a friend of a club member
Mhm.
who suggested, why don't you get a hold of Amy because she likes to draw dragons and other things. And we collaborated really nice to create some nice artwork.
No,
And
it
she's a
really
really
is
talented lady.
beautiful. And so with your character, how did he come about? Your Bry? How did you do you see him visually and then you describe it, or are you getting it as you're writing itself?
Well, from Ian's dragon books that he had upstairs in his room, they talked about the different dragons, the gold, the silver, the bronze, and they in the dragonology they give them all characters or properties and attributes, and who's good, who's bad, who helps who, and what have you. So I zeroed in on the silver because it just something about silver just seemed to take and resonate with me.
Mhm.
And it was like, okay, why don't I take and make him a silver dragon, and then use the kids' names as part of the dragon name. So like,
Mhm.
okay, I can use my son's name Brian for the first hyphenated part, and the Ankh part actually goes back to a trip that I did with my wife back in 1992 to Egypt.
Mhm.
We had met up with a woman in the 70s when I was in the motorcycle business that ended up being a channel, and part of her channel experience was that she immersed herself in the Egyptian culture,
Mm.
and she was guided to go to Egypt, stay there, and learn the customs, learn the stuff. And then when she came back, she decided to put sponsored groups together to go back to Egypt. Well, we went on one of those trips in 1992 and got kind of a little more inside the Beltway tour from the people she knew to see the historical sites in Egypt. And the channel group that she started or is still with were all connected in past lives. I'm a reincarnationist. I firmly believe in reincarnation.
Right.
And we all have experience with her, I think, back in ancient Egypt. So for me, in certain places, it was like going home like you would not believe.
That's how it is for me. I have had the pleasure to be there twice, and it's like when I got there, it was like my foot hit the sand and
Oh yeah,
I was home.
the water of the Nile is magical. It's just magical. And
It's surreal. It's surreal, right?
I had a lucid dream one night. And I don't have them a lot, but one of
Mhm.
the first or second nights you were there, I had a dream about purchasing an Ankh, finding an Ankh
Ooh.
to buy. And I found a gold ringed, simple gold, nothing ornate Ankh ring that I purchased, not knowing exactly why I had to purchase it, but knowing that I had to. So
Mhm.
I have that with me still. And
Oh,
it's like that part of my trip to Egypt was the impetus for using the Ankh as something in my stories.
right.
Because if you've been to Egypt and anybody that looks at any of the hieroglyphics or the text, always see the Ankh in someone's hand.
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
just kind of added what I thought it could do into
Right.
storytelling with the dragons and said, okay, why don't we take and act the dragons like have some, big like the caretakers of the Ankh, and they could give it to the Egyptians, but they really know what to do with it, how to do with it, and what it could do. And from there, I just kind of let it expand.
I love that. And it's very futuristic there when you bring it into that. And it felt futuristic, but also very ancient at the same time. So it's
Yes,
that combination of that.
yeah, and I'd like to say that's by design, but it's not. It's just that download stuff that Michael talks about when you start getting this stuff, and it just
Right.
kind of ends up being out there, and the stuff comes together, and it's like, okay, the dragon energy, which I have learned since I started writing, is very real energy,
Mhm.
uh, is kind of guiding me to put these things together in this way because there's something to be taught from there, and
Right.
this is a good way to do it.
So you're like an ambassador, or give the dragons an actual voice
Yeah,
It's fine. This
yeah,
time.
and I think because they've been vilified in history, especially in medieval history, as being these evil beings and anti-human and everything else. So it's like, well, why not like them? Let them be teachers. Let them be mentors, and give them a positive light, and have them let me show people that the powers that they have or could have or whatever could be used in a beneficial way to help us and to show us things that were not being shown someplace else.
Right. And then they hold, because a lot of our history we've lost, right?
Right.
And or it's been in error, or it's
Well,
very incorrect.
you know,
So
use the word fake news, but some of it is just like, okay, there's agendas out there for different things, and you're into the same circle as different things that I'm into a little bit. Like, yeah, what's out there? There's politics and everything, even ancient stuff. There was always, even when Michael's the Bry-Ankh, there's always the factions going at it, and there are, I shouldn't say messages, but there are the agendas that are trying to be perpetrated and still brought forward that don't work anymore. And we're at a place, I think, as a society, as a civilization, where it's time to critically look at some things and say, okay, does this work? Does it not? Can we use it? Should we discard it? Can we use some of it and get us to a better place?
And that's, and you do that with your book. You do that, right?
I hope so.
Oh, you do. I think you've accomplished that for sure. And so when you go to start to write, do you set an intention? Do you set up your space? Do you have to wear a certain shirt, or do you have to?
I will actually. I'm still in the oil business, so and I drive around a lot to check my production. I'm still running my own production, what's left of it, and I'll drive around by myself a lot. So I start having these conversations with me, and the ideas start coming, and it's like, okay, what if I did this and this with the book? That sounds kind of nice. And I kind of get this dialogue going, and I'll sit down when I finally get myself tuned into it to say, okay, let's start, and come up with the first idea, a first chapter, and say, where do we want the story to start, and kind of where do we think we want it to go? And sometimes it goes where I want it to, and sometimes my dragons tell me something totally different, and it goes a different route. And it's not what I started with, but it's better what they finish with.
Exactly. It's that trust and let go part, right?
Yeah, it sounds screwy to most people that you're not micromanaging everything, but this stuff you can't, because there's just too many things that are floating around that you just can't control. You're dealing with energies that are cosmic.
Right. And so is that a metaphor, like you're talking about in your book, is a metaphor for life?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, because it's the law of attraction is a really interesting thing. And in global information that we have a kind of a saying, it takes 5 minutes to learn something, a lifetime to master it. And you're always mastering, you're never there. And so you always want to seek more knowledge. And the nuances of the law of attraction, of how it really works and what it can do, you need to take and get that in small steps. You eat the elephant one bite at a time. So you can't just throw this in there and go, boom. It's got to take it kind of incrementally, get the ideas going, especially with kids, because they aren't told in today's world that they can do anything.
Right.
So society really slaps down individualism. And my books are specifically targeted to tell people, no, that's not true. You can't accomplish what you want. And there are ways to do it. There is a formula. And we're taught that in global, that these are the principles that have worked for thousands and thousands of years. It's The Secret, when Rhonda Byrne had The Secret come out, the same idea. This is not new information. None of it's new. It's all been there. You just have to redefine it for today's lifestyle. As a writer, you kind of know that there aren't too many things that haven't already been written about. What makes them interesting is the time that you're writing them in, because that's the flavor of today's world. That's what makes it different.
And that you're bringing in an ancient being too.
Right. And it's fun.
It's really fun. And that you get to then, it's as a teaching tool. They're being taught and they don't know it. But that's a difference in being mind controlled, though, right?
Or lectured to. Like I said, you don't want people get turned off if your finger's being pointed at them and say, you got to do it X, Y, Z, da, 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 da. That doesn't work. And people rebel because they want that independence. They want to feel like they did it.
Mhm. I didn't want to go. I thought it was interesting, the relationship between the brothers, and you had such compassion for the older brother. And
Well,
mhm.
and that's a lot of this is real life. I mean, it's not made up.
Okay.
The dynamics between my two sons is pretty unique.
Mhm.
And they are stayed close. Like for example, I have a brother and he are very distant.
Mm.
But my boys have stayed real close to each other. And Brian has clinical anxiety, or was
Mhm.
diagnosed with it when he got out of high school. So when I write about it in the book, those are real types of events of
Oh,
what we had to deal with, how we had to do things. And Ian I had some readings done on him early, actually both of them. And Ian has the heart of the Buddha, and he's just that way. But he is plagued with cultural things that make his life difficult. He's a severe stutterer. He has some allergies and asthmas and some other things. We almost lost him as a baby to the RSV virus. So he has got a lot of things cosmetically that are not in his favor, but he's brilliant. He's getting his master's degree in physics right now and going to eventually get his PhD. So we kind of have a running joke in the family. If we ever find out who the real parents are, we'd like to know because I want paid back. But no, they care about each other greatly, and their interaction is a lot like in the book. They do talk to each other. They do care.
Yeah, I love that because you have choice, right? You have a choice
Right.
of how you're going to deal with this problem and what the solutions are and how because you're kind of set up with, hey, he can be a real,
Yeah.
and
Oh
so,
yeah.
and
And
so
if you've got brothers and sisters, at that certain age, everybody's at each other's throat,
they are,
and especially if you have one who is social and one who isn't.
right. And one
And
more comfortable dominating as
yeah,
well.
yeah. And Brian is a natural athlete. He was a soccer player, a track runner, and Ian was not because of the asthma. He couldn't do any of that. That's why I got him into the bowling, because he could learn to bowl, and
Right,
he's really good.
right. Hey, let's go into your bowling then. That whole, how is that that's a major part of your life too.
Yeah, it's when everybody's got to have one thing that they do that's absolutely crazy that makes no sense at all. That's me. That's me in bowling. Uh, I got into it when I was a kid with my dad. I bowled pretty much in leagues since I was 12 years old.
Huh.
And at 55, a buddy of mine who I was bowling leagues with suggested, hey, why don't you go over, and there's a PBA regional event, which is like the minor leagues at the PBA over here next time. Why don't you go over and take him, bowling event? Oh, yeah. All right. So I decided I'd go do that. On the course of just making that decision to go do this, you know what? I better go see a coach and just make sure I look like I belong with the really, good guys. And I found out when I looked at myself on tape the first time, I said, oh my God, what a train wreck. And when I coach people, I say the first time I ask them, have you ever seen yourself on video? No. Okay, when you see it, you won't believe it, but it's you, because nobody thinks they are what they are when they see themselves on film.
Right, right.
And I just got hooked on it. And I love the competition at that level. I don't do very well a lot of times, but the game is life in a lot of ways. I mean, you can learn everything about life at competitive bowling. Will teach you how to survive. It will teach you perseverance. It will teach you dedication. It will teach you focus. It will teach you to seek knowledge and learn and excel and be the best you can be, no matter what age you're at or what group you're in or what you're doing. It's a vehicle for you to get better, and it carries over, and I think, into other parts of your life. That's why I got certified as coaching with the USBC, the national governing body for bowling. So I keep bowling on tour. I'm friends with a lot of the guys now who are the Hall of Famers in the senior side of things. And it's a hoot. I mean, they're a bunch of fun guys, but they're damn good.
So it
And
puts you on your game of life then, basically.
yeah, I mean, because in order to take and become good, and I didn't start trying to be good till I was 55. Well, you have to retrain your body. So you have to take and learn to focus like you never believed you could focus, to take and rewire up here.
All that conditioning,
Yeah,
right?
because there's so many things that happen in your subconscious mind that govern what you do, that you have to take an override, and you can't do it in lumps. You can only consciously think, and even in the dragon books, one thing at a time. You can't jump two or three. Your mind can't handle it. Your conscious mind doesn't function that way, because the subconscious job is to keep you alive and make everything function and keep you safe and do the things like that. Well, bowling in certain ways is an unsafe sport because you're doing something unbalanced, and the body doesn't like to be unbalanced. It likes to be in control. So when you're throwing a 15 or 16 pound ball that can weigh 65 pounds at the bottom of a swing, your body is resisting that because it doesn't want you to hurt yourself. And that's all subconscious.
Right, right. So it's like it's getting the spirit is in charge of the body, not the body in charge of the spirit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you could say that with the subconscious and spirit connected together. Yeah, the super conscious of you, that
Right,
other part that is connected to the divine all the time, is
right.
running so much more than what your conscious mind thinks it's doing. And there's always a uh, hierarchy that's going into play there of who's in control.
So you don't walk around and go, "Hey, stop it," or "I'm not
Well,
listening to you."
in some ways you do. In my bowling,
Right?
yeah, and when in the bowling book, The Soulful Bowler, I get into that a little bit of like, okay, you have to shut that down, and you have to tell that other part of you, no, we're going to do this, and you override it, and that's one of the things you do.
And that would be such a good analogy for life itself, right? When
Right.
you want to attain this goal and you're focused, and you get that stinking thinking, is what the First Nations call it, that
Yeah.
stinking thinking
Yeah.
comes in and wants to take over, right? And so you have to tell it to shut up and go to lunch.
Yeah.
Or something.
You don't have to be a slave to your past,
Mhm.
and you can, again, the individual, the perseverance, the ability to transcend and become a better you is
Right.
part of that process.
Yeah. And you talk about that in your books.
Yeah, yeah. I try to bring that in a way that's understandable for the younger generation, because we're so screwed up. We can't hardly ever, we got more baggage than we need. And it's like, so go to
And
the
why
young
did
people.
we have a book? We needed the manual, right? The one-on-one manual.
Well, yeah, I mean, somewhat, but a lot of this goes back to what I learned in global, and this is what they teach.
Okay.
And one of the things that you need to do is to be around people who are like-minded, and
Mm,
societies and clubs that have people that think the way you do makes you much bigger. Your super conscious becomes much broader, and it expands you. You create the Napoleon Hill used to call the mastermind. Well, the mastermind is when you get two or three like-minded people together that are having fun. They don't have to be focused on anything, but they're having fun. That's when all the things happen and all the connections make. There was a gal I got to meet by the name of Mary Miller, who worked with she developed the I Ching system, which worked on Chinese hexagrams. And
mhm.
she broke it down into binary codes. And all of the hexagrams could be binary coded, which of course, binary coding is computer coding and basically runs most everything.
Right.
And
And
she makes,
up circles.
yeah, and she made statements like, if you go into a room of people that you don't know, and you'll find some people that you immediately connect to, other people that you don't, that you kind of shy away from. And she said, when you're within 3 feet of someone, your aura already has an intense electrical connection of sending binary codes back and forth. You're already communicating. You're already telling this other being who you are, and they're telling you. And if it's agreeable, it works. You're smiling. You can feel comfortable there. And if it isn't, you've had that kind of instinct, like, I don't know. And it's all part of the coding.
Mhm. And so it's that when we're all electrical, our energy and our
Right.
field has our own signature, just like
Yes.
our thumbprint, right? So,
Right.
And,
That's our individuality,
Mhm.
our spirit, our soul, spirit, whatever you want to call it. That's our stamp.
Right. And so you talk about that in your books too, where we talked about that briefly at the beginning, where he is an unusual boy,
Yes.
if you want to call him that, and
Yeah.
I love what he wasn't sure about his relationship with the dragon either.
No.
Right.
He again, it was his other teaching. He said, nah, and his dialogue goes between his brother. It's okay. Yeah, it's your stupid imagination's going at it here again. And he just had this fervent belief. Again, a focused belief is part of what you need. It's that intense desire for something to happen, and that's the law of attraction. What you focus on is what you perceive or what is in your life.
Mhm.
There isn't. It's the mechanics of how things work.
Right. And then there's also the way unknown. We don't know anything sometimes, right?
Right.
All
Oh yeah.
do think that you know nothing either at the same.
I hate to keep going back to global, but I read on this once before with you a little bit. There's like 4 steps to learning,
Mhm.
and I'll just run through them here real quick.
Yeah.
And
We can take our time. We're good.
okay.
People will listen now and they'll listen. I have the Cosmic
Okay.
YouTube channel.
Okay.
This will be posted in the YouTube channel as well, and they can come back and listen to it as much as they want.
Okay, because I don't want to overwhelm or bore people at the same time, but these are kind of important, I think
it
concepts.
is. I wouldn't have you on the show if I didn't think that your voice was important for
Well,
everyone.
thank you.
And I love your beautiful heart and your wisdom that you impart in a beautiful, beautiful series of books. And I'm looking forward to many more to come.
It would be nice. The only thing is that you can't, I don't know if I take the glasses off, people can see a little bit better how my eyes look without
Yeah.
the glasses. And I tell my wife, you know what, this may be a signal that I'm ready for a life change, and that it's time for me to take and choose a different line of work. So
I'm thinking it makes you look like the dragons had something to say in this, right?
It was a dumb
by a tail by mistake or something like that.
One of those crazy things you do, and after you do it, you're like, oh man. And you even had that little voice before that gave you a little bit of caution. It says, are you doing this? And it's it'll work. And no, it didn't work. So it's like, oh geez.
You got hit by a pole, or the pole hit you, or you hit the pole, or
well, in simple terms, a jack handle sprung the wrong direction. And when it sprung back, I was leaning over top of it, and it whacked me on the return from where I had pushed it. And I didn't even know it was going to do that. And it happened so fast, I didn't have time to blink. I'd never been hit that hard in my life by anything. And 6 stitches later, and it's like no broken bones or brain damage. It's like, okay, I guess I'm pretty lucky. So
and I love what you said. What was the learning in this? I can
a
choice of how I handle this.
Right, because I learned through my channel friend way back in the 70s that you have that choice of, are you going to be a victim and live in victimhood, or are you going to take responsibility? And if you choose responsibility, you have to choose 100% responsibility. You can't just take a little bite. You're either in or you're out. And if you take the responsibility, words like accident go out of your vocabulary. Words like problem go out of your vocabulary. And I challenge people to eliminate the word problem from their dialogue and see how hard that is.
Ooh, I'm going to do that. I like that.
Because you would be amazed at how many times you use that word in a day, that you have to come up with another word to get out of using it, because it connotates a certain set of circumstances that you don't want, because you're a responsible individual. You're taking responsibility for your life. There's no outside forces. There's nothing else. You're not at the whims of some supernatural whatever. You are in control. And when you apply the law of attraction that says this is how you are in control, these things make sense. So I learned a long time ago that I can't hide and be a victim, because then it's like, oh, they did this to me. Oh, did that happen to me? Oh, poor me. Oh, poor that. It just doesn't work. Not for me, it doesn't. And it's like, this happened for a reason. And it may very well be at that teachable moment to say, yeah, I did it. I'm not sure why I did it. I don't have all the clarification there, but there's a reason. And in every incident of dirt, there's always a nugget of gold somewhere. You just have to find that nugget.
Mhm,
And that's how I look to stuff like this.
mhm.
And
And
that,
I'm thinking with your I, that would be I. You know?
oh yeah. And it's one of, it's just one of those crazy things. It's like, yeah, geez, I said, a bar fight or whatever, but no, it was self-inflicted. And it's like, all right, you have to take and put on your big boy pants and say, okay, what's the next step?
Right.
And go from
And
there.
you're here on the show too. That was a choice too. It's a way that you could have gotten out of it, and how we can get out of something that may be a little uncomfortable. How we
And
can
that's,
talk our
yeah,
way
that's,
out of it, right?
that's when I asked you about it. It says, okay, is this okay? Because that was the exact scenario that hit me. It says, could I back, whatever. It says, no, it's important to do this now.
Right.
It's important to make this connection and to take and have a chance to have a very nice interview with someone who I like and is in the same wavelength as I am and knows some of the same people I know, and have a conversation about the books, about life, about what's going on, and do it in a friendly manner and let people know that there are other people out there who may think the way they think.
Right, right. And they're not alone and they're not isolated. And
Right, exactly. I mean, it's just, there is in my framework of thinking, the negativity of the collectivism that you have to belong to the group in order to have anything happen. I just vehemently rebel against that.
Mhm.
Maybe it's American individualism, maybe it's just stupidity, but it's like, no,
Well, it's where our freedom lies.
yes, I think so.
I do too. Yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah, we're not born with predetermined biases
Mhm.
like trying to be prevented or talked about right now. We're born with a clean slate, but what we brought with us from past lives is there.
Mhm.
But we can act on those or do whatever else. And through my writing and stuff, I kind of came to the conclusion that what can I do to my life or people around me that will leave an impact, that I can do more than just be here, that I
Right.
can do something that is, I shouldn't say legacy, but something that can
But
take
that's a great word. I think legacy is a great word. I meant
and
that word. I want to leave a legacy. I
yeah,
want, I do. I want to it to be better than when I got here.
yes. And I don't know exactly why I chose this time and this place and where I'm at. I stayed in this part of the world my whole life.
Mhm.
But there's a pattern to it. There's a necessity for it.
Mhm.
There's a learning and a giving that is part of what I came here, I think, to do, which was to take things and concepts and maybe put my own little bit of flavor on them and present them to people and say, you're not alone. You can do this too.
Right.
And the stories do that.
Right. And each of us have our own unique artistry, right? I think a lot of that's taken away here as well, as where you have to go to work, keep your nose clean and
Yeah.
work, keep your
Right.
nose to the
Right.
ground. And really we're such incredible creative beings at heart. If
Right.
we can tap into whatever that is for us, we're each very unique in that. And you found that words are your art.
Yeah, because otherwise I'm very tactile. I'm one of those people that everything is done with feel in your fingers and you're very hands-on mechanical.
Mhm.
With the oil industry stuff that I do, all the pieces and parts to make everything work. I know what each thing has to do, how it's supposed to be put together and work.
Mhm.
When I was in the motorcycle business, when I was a young kid, I was 18. I started racing bikes back in the 70s, and I had a bike shop for a dirt bike shop. And the guys that used to bring me what I call a bike in a box, they would have taken apart a motor or something that they couldn't get back together, and they bring it in the shop and says, "Can you fix this?" Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So I either find a manual or whatever, and I put in the piece, and eventually I fix the motor for them, hand it back, say, okay, here it is. And
Wow.
I just have that kind of
Patience.
mechanical ability, a patient's mechanical sight, whatever you want to call it, to be able to do stuff like that.
My brother was like that. He used to take apart everything and put it
Yeah.
back together
Oh
when we
yeah.
were kids.
Yeah.
He
I do the
loved
same thing.
that.
Oh yeah. There's something about reconstructing something that is just fulfilling, I guess.
Right. Well, we're almost to take our break, believe it or not.
Ah, wonderful.
And so where's the best place that people can buy your books and find out about your work and what your speaking events are coming up and that sort of thing?
Okay. Books, if you want to take and get the hardback copies that you have,
Mhm.
those can go to my website at www.greatsilverdragon.com. And that's a PayPal account. And I have those two books as a bundle price right now of, I think, $10.95 for the hardback versions. Now, I will say they are edit-wise not as good as the ones you would get from, let's say they're 90% as good as what you would get from Amazon, but Amazon is paperback and not that good quality.
Quality, right.
The fella, a longtime friend of mine, who is a book publisher in town here, did the work on the layouts and the graphics and the setup, the typeset and the book bindings and stuff. And he'd been in publishing business for like 40 years. So that's an Amazon book.
Mm-hmm.
But the first two ones I've got priced really good. That's again only available on Amazon.
Right. These just feel good too
They do. I love the feel.
I do too. And I love the images on the back.
I use that wraparound on all of them.
Yeah.
In the shadow, because it just seems to be the thing that's like, okay, yeah, he's here, but he's not really gone.
Mhm.
He's always in the back of your mind.
Mhm.
Your dragon is always going to be there waiting for you to ask it a question.
Right. And so let's say there's some young people watching this. And so I thought maybe when we get back from our break here, that maybe we could talk about your how your own personal relationship with dragons.
Okay.
There has to be something in there because, and how our listeners can tune in to having a relationship with their dragons.
Okay. That'd be
Dragon
great.
dragons.
That'd be great.
So we'll talk about that. So everyone will be right back after this break in just a moment. And we'll be back at 6:04 at the top of just a little bit after the hour. So stay tuned.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message. Be evasive, but that doesn't mean that they're telling the truth as opposed to fiction. They're just accepting things as you want. I'm also asked about when the soul of God can have all the orders of him. Anything of the giant before it and sons of God's world. We're talking about the Jesus coming down. No. I'm Steve Crawford, host of Factor 3 Live. Join me every Sunday night from 10 p.m. till midnight Eastern Standard Time on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Check it out.
It reminds me of Coast to Coast.
Let us take you to the place behind your mind where thoughts divide and mysteries unwind. Join us every Monday evening right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you will catch the Fenn Perspective with our great host, Lori and Fenn. Come listen in as she shares her amazing stories from the past to present, along with here from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Revolution Radio. Oh, and you don't need to suspect us. We're already here.
Galactic Interstellar Council on Revolution Radio Studio A, Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Join us as we traverse the starseed paradigm. As expressed in the time-space continuum that we know as the divine expression of love and light. Integrating this conscious unity into the galactic paradigm. So welcome all, both terrestrial beings and galactic beings as one. So be it. Listen to Revolution Radio.
If you think for 1 second that the Capitol will ever treat us fairly, you are lying to yourselves. Because we know who they are and what they do. This is what they do, and we must fight back. You can torture us and bomb us. Fire is catching. And if we burn, you burn with us.
Are you awake yet? I hope. We've tried for years and years to use passive resistance and loud voices to make a change. Your choice. Right. Warriors. Denial is not a choice anymore. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the planet. Not giving up. Revolution Radio.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Cosmic Oracle Show. This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey, and we have with us in our beautiful multi-dimensional studio. We're here in LA, and where are you from, Jim? In Ohio?
Actually, it's a little town called Burbank, which is basically a stoplight. About 45 minutes kind of southwest of Cleveland. We're more associated with a college town called Worcester, Ohio, which is Wooster. It's got more notoriety in this part of the state than Burbank does, but technically it's a Burbank address.
It's a beautiful country, though. We spent some time there. I just thought it was extraordinary.
We bought a farm out here, an old farm in 1991 that we saved from allotments, and have lived on this plot of land ever since. And we found out it was part of the original Ohio territory that was carved out before it was a state, that this particular section of land has basically stayed pretty much intact since the time of before the state of Ohio was a state.
Wow. So, and that wouldn't be a good story to write about or anything, right?
No, it has nothing to do with Indians or Native people or any of that kind of stuff, or the dragons and the teepees. No, I don't think I could go there at all.
And with your I love that you can feel the house, the way that you with your words that you describe the home, and his and we're talking about Jim's books that tell of Ian and Bry-Ankh, the Great Silver Dragon. And when you talk about pancakes and
Oh
the
yeah.
cooking, and
Oh yeah.
it brought you right back to it, where you
Oh, yeah.
appreciate those little things in life.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Bacon goes in with everything. I mean, I'm sorry. It is. It's like the gourmet food in the world is bacon.
And we have bacon and pancakes with the girls today, blueberry pancakes.
Oh yeah. I love, a favorite, absolutely favorite.
In honor of your books here today. So
Oh, I know it's like, okay, it's a part of real life. It's like, all right, I might as well do it. And I wanted to take and give the visuals of the kitchen in the mansion that kind of
yeah.
homely feel, and the solidness of that kind of relationship, and how families used to, but don't quite as much anymore, gather around the table for meals.
Right. I always felt it was important. We always did that with my children. I always felt it was really important that time. And all of my children that have children now, they all do that as well.
Yeah,
That's
we did it.
happy.
I was able to be fortunate enough with things that they were early on that my wife could stay at home when the kids were little. So
Mhm.
she, as I said, she raised them. I just was here and and did my part to pay the bills. And but they her responsibility now. No, it was a joint deal, but she got that advantage, and it was we thought it was really important to do
I
that.
thought that's why for me, I had business in my home the whole time so that I
Yeah.
could do that as well.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I've run this stuff out of my house as a
Right.
1 or 2 man operation for. Well, I incorporated the company in 1988, so I've been my own deal since then.
And I think that's something with the COVID that people got to stay home and really feel what that's like. And a lot of people are saying, "Hey, I really like it, and I'm recreating this where I get to stay home and have business at home with my family."
There's been a lot of good things come from the virus stuff, and I mean this idea of uh, depopulating the city somewhat, and the
Mm.
congestion by able to do remote work, and you could do things at home, and businesses found out that their employees were as productive at home as they were in offices.
Right.
With my stuff, I was always considered, I never missed a day of everything because we were always considered essential. Ohio never got as crazy as like California as far as telling people I had to stay home, but
Mm.
energy people were always out producing the energy because
Mhm.
you had to have it. And so it didn't affect me in other ways that it did other people, but it's, for some, I think it's a benefit. Like you said, it just opened up another way of living that they forgot they could do.
Right. So it's a reset of
Yeah.
value, what we're
Yeah.
looking at. And
Good
then
word.
also the tragic part where people lost so terribly much as well.
I think the government, they picked winners and losers, and I feel that was a very bad choice
Mhm.
in the stuff, and they decided who was worthy and who wasn't, and I think that was the wrong decision in a lot of ways. And I don't want to get into politics because it
Yeah,
flips people off.
no, we won't go there right
No,
today.
no.
But let's talk about, and I hate saying that that way, let's talk about this. But you just showed us a book. Can you put
Oh,
that up?
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah,
See if I can.
here, I can take this one down. I don't know what it keeps popping up.
Did you
The
see the?
Soulful Bowler, building a bridge between two worlds,
Yeah.
frame by frame.
Yep.
I
Yep.
love it.
This is our intrepid bowler on a quest for a 300 game, and we're taking it step by step as he goes through life. Again, I like to take and use bowling as life,
Mhm.
and the things that you do as you bowl a game of bowling, especially if it's at a high level, of things that happen while you're in the game.
Mhm.
And our player is slowly heading towards that holy grail of bowling, that perfect 300. And
Is
it's
it
an interesting journey.
is it really attainable, a 300 game?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I've only got 5 of them, and that's not that many. In today's world, there are guys getting them every other week anymore because technology, the game has changed so much in the
Uh-huh.
last several years, and proprietors want people to come to their establishments. So they make the scoring a little easier than what it could be.
Mhm.
And that's why I love the PBA and going out with the hard stuff, because the scoring out there, oil is your enemy in bowling.
Mhm.
And you can, I don't care how good a person is, they can put enough oil in a lane to destroy their game and to where they can't score well. And that's just the given.
Yeah.
And so it's a game of wits. It's a game of perception. It's a game of at a high level. It's a game of seeing what's happening in front of you and reacting to it, like life.
Right.
And
Setting your nerves with the pressure on.
yeah, and it's
fun.
the steps you go through. What happens up here, how
Right.
you focus, how you train your body, what you do, and the things that go on, and some other interesting things there that I had from my experiences on tour working with the I shouldn't say handicapped, special needs,
Mhm.
bad choice of words, special needs people, and dealing with them at pro-ams and helping them. Fundamental turning point in my life was working my first time I got asked to work with special needs kids. I'd never done it.
Mhm.
When I grew up, I was being 68, they were always, stay away. The taboo people, the
Right.
Down syndrome, the rest of it, you just shun them
Mhm.
and wanted nothing to do with it. That's how I grew up. And when I had that opportunity to do that, it was like, okay, well, it says PBA on my shirt, so I guess I should take a step up to the plate and do the job of a PBA player and work with these people. Profoundly changed my life. Actually, fundamental and probably getting me to write the books was that experience, that the give back, give something back. And these kids remember you. It may be the only thing they do all year, and you may have to take a settle ball on a ramp and help them push it. They remember who you are, where you were, what you did.
Uh,
It,
and
it's
there's a lot of love there too. I can.
oh, tremendous. They're the most. They're the most. That at that moment, you're the most important person in their life.
Wow.
It is changing. You can't, if you have a heart, you cannot do that experience and not come out of it changed. I don't. That's how you can do it. It just. I mean, I get tears in my eyes right now because thinking about it. It's that special.
Right. Right. And we don't have permission to be at that level, right? When we
No.
could be every day, we couldn't
Yeah.
be that much love in our hearts for each
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
all the time.
And you really take a step back and tell yourself, wow, what a hard road these people chose this life to travel.
Sad.
And you really need to respect them for taking that journey because you have to live it. I'm one of those people that believes that to know about something, to really know it, you have to live it.
Right.
You cannot know about and say you understand it. You must know it. And to know it, you have to experience it.
To live it, because you can get it mentally.
Yeah.
But until you fall in love, you're not going to love is
Yeah.
a letter word. You can
I-
read all the books, right? And you can
I
take all
can't-
the lectures.
Yeah, I can't feel someone else's feelings. I can't be who they are. The only way I can get close to them is sometime in some other life, I was close to that. I was that female. I was that male. I was that warrior. I was that laborer. I was that king. I was that whatever. And I experienced it, and it's part of my matrix of who I am.
Mhm.
And I chose this time to do these things for my soul evolution to take those steps.
Yeah.
And we all head back to the source. And
Right.
it's in the books somewhat
Yes.
about the creative force and the powers that be. And we're all made of stars. We're all made of star dust. Everything is the cosmos that's around us. And we're composed of the divine energy that is in everything and part of us. It can never leave us. It can never be apart from us unless we put it apart from us.
Mhm.
And that's one of those things that you come to that realization, at least I did, that yeah, that's who I am. And I don't respect it as much as maybe I should, but I understand that it's part of me.
And you get it. You get
Yeah, I get it.
it. And I see your Brighton does too. Bry does for sure. It is.
Yeah.
You know.
That's the dragon's job, is to teach his apprentice the totality of life. And it's not a choice that is done haphazardly. It is a purposeful choice by the dragon because it's his part of his job, and
Right.
it's not to be squandered. It's to be upon a person who is qualified or whatever. I can't think of the right word right now.
Chosen. He's kind of chosen.
Yeah. He's got the intangibles that will make him a student to be able to use what he's taught to better humanity, to spread it.
Right. He has it within him to be able to take it out there.
Yeah.
Once he gets it himself first and foremost, though.
Yeah,
Right.
right. It is in the last book of the Dragon book, the big one. It's like, okay, that's where I can take and bring Atlantis in and go back and take the king's lineage, like Michael with his connection to the Anunnaki with the strain of blood anomaly. Said, okay, well, I can use a little bit of that, put that in this, and make this here, and kind of weave this together and make every much bigger than what he is, and then take the power of the dragons and the power of the Ankh and do some things with the rules of physics, more or less, and create something here that's a little bit unique.
Right. And the history, I love all the history aspects of it. And Bry's relationship with his father.
Yeah. Well, that's
especially you were in a hotel, I forget the hotel, the ancient hotel in Switzerland.
yes, the Dolder Grand.
Yes.
I've been there.
You could tell you've been there. And I've been to Switzerland, I've been to Europe, but I have never been to that hotel.
Oh, you have to.
I looked it up online, and next time I go, I am going to that hotel. I'll call you from there. Okay.
When Kevin, right before Kevin got incarcerated, they were putting together meetings every 4 months or so, and they had a summer executive meeting, and that year they had it at Zurich, Switzerland, at that hotel, in someplace he had been. And there are a whole bunch of us of the upper level members of the club got there, and that was the experience, which made it absolutely fantastic. But you could see the city, then you have to go.
Oh, I will for sure. You got me inspired. I went online and looked it all up and made like, okay, I'm going there. And
the view is beyond spectacular. It really is.
That you write what's underneath. I don't think that's a spoiler alert, but what's underneath the city.
Oh yeah, so it's good because Switzerland's been known for
that
gold, harboring the gold reserves of people for forever.
Forever, yeah. That's maybe as old as dragons.
Well, yeah, because when the Romans historically, we learned this when we had a tour down through the ancient part of Zurich, that the Romans had a garrison there that guarded the river, and they more or less took care of commerce, and not necessarily everything that was supposed to be taxed went back to Rome. And they had that's where I could take and make my other bankers and things get back to where okay, well, I got to take them. We got all this stuff. I got to hide it someplace because whatever. All of Caesar's doesn't belong to Caesar. So you could take and kind of, weave a web there, and I could tie that back with the Atlantean dragons and other things. And they'll be in the crest, and the things in that bank I described are all part of the Atlantean dragons, which are on the sword, which are part of that dichotomy of light and dark. And there's some things there.
Yeah. It's rich. It's a rich history.
And I was fortunate enough to be able to experience it, so I could basically say it kind of firsthand.
Right.
So
You
made it, yeah.
You feel that in your writing. It takes you right there. You can definitely feel it there. It was one of my favorite parts, actually.
Oh, thank you. I tried to make that as real as I could.
Yeah, you were successful for sure.
Thank you.
Let's talk about your relationship with real dragons. What's your relation? Do you have a dragon yourself that you hang out with or talk with or ask for help or
Wow, I kind of relate to what is classified as the primal dragon energy, which is, Michael had me read a book, and I can't remember where it's at right now, but it dealt a lot of dragon symbology around the world. And the primal dragon force, which I think I could create to the first or second creation from the master creator would be the primal dragon. And it would be equal in energy and stuff to, let's say, the Christ consciousness would be the primal dragon consciousness. And that's kind of what I let filter through. And it isn't like there's a personal communication going on. It's just an openness to that part that I said before, when I read something that I wrote and I look at it second time or third time, I go, wow, that's really good. That came from somewhere. Then I thank my primal dragon for letting those words come through, because that's part of the mission. And I would like to say that, oh yeah, I do these meditations and all these things, and I've got my little altar with my dragon and stuff like that. I do have a right here.
Okay.
Ian got me this little friend on a trip where he was at, and brought it home and said, "Here, Dad, you should have this." So I set this little guy on my mantle, and every now and then I look at him and say, "Okay, what do we need to talk about today?" So it's kind of like open up the dialogue and open up the channel and just see what happens.
He's kind of like the opener, the key to the portal, right? Where
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say to people that are really, yes, I can take and meditate out on this stuff, and I can just close my eyes and just type away and it all shows up, and I know it's from, the great dragon, and that doesn't happen to me like that. I kind of wish it did, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
So,
I'd rather have the truth all day long, right?
yeah, I mean, I can't fabricate that kind of stuff because it's not going to be good for people will see through it, and it's like, okay.
Right. And so you started to talk about the global information network, and there were 4 rules or
right. Yeah, this is part of the success of how the club is. It's what's in the books, and the first concept is, who do you listen to? The second concept is something called a teachability index. The third is the training balance scale, and the last is the 4 steps, which consist of 4 premises. And the 4 premises are: you don't know what you don't know.
Oh, I love that part.
You know that you don't know. Then you have conscious competence and unconscious competence. And those are like the 5 minutes to learn, a total lifetime to master, because who do you listen to is people who have been where you want to go or done what you want to do. And teachability index is the desire to learn, which all of us kind of say we want to do. But the other side of that is, are you willing to accept change? And when you throw that part of it, it's like, I'm not so sure I want to change anything. I kind of like,
I'm really comfortable, Jim, right where I am. Okay.
You got to take, yeah. And the training balance scale goes back to the law of attraction. Like, what you would think a scale, equal amounts of things on each scale to make something happen. 99.9 of success is the thinking part. 0.1 is the actual action. And the last,
that's interesting.
The last 4 steps are parts of your conscious training to get you to the part, like if you're a bowler, unconscious competence, where you're not thinking about the shot you want to make, you just make the shot you want to make.
Yeah.
And that's the step. Those are that's the fundamental success steps recipe that we learned at Global Information. And Global has chapters and membership worldwide. If you Google it, you're going to get a bunch of bad stuff. What's going on?
Where our listeners go to get the good stuff?
They just go to Google Global Information Network and start looking around for memberships in their area, and talk to someone or reach out to me if you want to, and I can connect you up. It's a membership club. There is a fee to be a member, but the success training you get is, in my doubt, it's like Tony Robbins on steroids times 10.
Ooh.
Kevin is a master presenter of this information. Absolutely. And the books go back. I use what he taught me. He endorses the books, even from his incarcerated state for children's sections. He highlights my books, and he also highlights books like Napoleon's Hill, Think and Grow Rich. So this isn't just an idle, haphazard deal because Jim's a member of the club, I'll put his books down. No, these are top line. Zig Ziglar, Napoleon Hill, Esther and Jerry Hicks. with the Abraham teachings. This is top level stuff. He doesn't put his endorsement on stuff that is not, he doesn't endorse, doesn't agree with.
Mhm.
And it's part of like-minded thinking. Global will get you with people who think in a like manner that will help you achieve a level of personal growth
Mhm.
and teach you the recipe.
And
And
sustain it, right?
yeah,
Sustain it.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
it like, ooh, up and down, right? So
And this Kevin likes to have a saying that he says that people that are, he says the billionaires are the people who will come out and say they know the least of anyone. They're always in a state of not knowing. They may be super rich because they're very good at one thing, but they know that they don't know everything. So they're the most teachable because they got to where they're at because they were willing to learn and accept change.
mhm,
And it's huge. I mean, it is.
mhm. And isn't there something like too not being not to be the surrounded that you're not the smartest person in the room.
Right. They one of the premises is that they kind of say, and Kevin says, I didn't originate this stuff. I learned all this stuff from other people. I am not the author of these things. These are all out there from other authors and other times. But he says you'll take your 5 best friends, and within so many years you will be at an equal footing with your 5 best friends. So if you look at your 5 best friends and they're kind of like in the middle of the road, you may need some other friends.
Right, right.
And because the mastermind that you create, the energy of your focus blends together and you all blend at the same frequency level.
Mhm,
And that's what you end up being. And if it's not what you want, then you need to make a change. It's
mhm.
not negative against anybody. It's that part of your personal growth that I'm looking to go to here. What do I need to do to get from step 1 to step 2?
Right.
And you have to have a chief aim. Napoleon Hill says you must have a chief aim and a burning desire for its achievement. So you have this goal out there, and that's where your focus. And if you're familiar with Nightingale Conant,
I'm
the
not-
Nightingale Conant, the guys out of Earl Nightingale was a speaker in the '60s, and they produced a record called the Strangest Secret. I think it was the title of it. And his phrase was, "You become what you think about most of the time," and that's the focus of law of attraction. Your thoughts, the impetus for everything starts from mental. It's not what you do. It's not who you think you are. It's who you really think that you are. So it's a thinking. It's all in that category. Everything started as an idea. Everything. These books, the cosmos, everything started as a thought,
Mhm.
and it all pulled together after that.
And so with your books, then you see them as a global, worldwide, because they are in different languages already, right?
No, this is the part that I'm still kind of the marketing, the struggling part with because I'm not good at. I've got with Amazon, the Evil Empire. I have the the advertising in the UK and Germany, but only in English right now. And I haven't ventured into the Japanese markets because I'm kind of learning as you go, you learn how to use their system.
Right.
And I've got sales kind of steady in all those markets, nothing huge. My advertising costs basically just about cover the cost of sales.
Mhm,
So it's kind of an even Steven right now.
mhm.
But Amazon likes steadiness, and their algorithms do funny things with how they place books and how they put things together.
So-
And their marketing system is heavily biased for them. So you have to learn to put limits on what you're willing to spend
Mhm.
and how you were targeting keywords and things like that in order to take and get noticed, because the search engines for computers, as you may know, you have key phrases and keywords. So, well, those all cost. There's a price tag on those.
Right.
And they are very good at wanting you to put way too much money on those price tags, and you go out of, you're giving them a lot, and Jeff Bezos doesn't need much more of my money.
Right. Right. Exactly.
I
Exactly.
like the guy, but I know it's like, nah, you got enough, Jeff.
Well, and that your work really is a gift to humanity. Really, that's really what it is. That's how I
I hope it would be nice. I mean, you look at perhaps the Greek mythologies, and you see the stories of the Achilles and things like that wanted to live forever in stories.
Mhm.
You kind of get this feeling like, you know what, it would be nice to be able to take and live longer than what the body actually does. And writing books like this is that kind of extension, if you want to call it that.
Right. That
And I can't do it for ego and self
no,
pedestal standing. So yes, I did this and blah blah blah. No, it's just like, hey, here's what I'm thinking, what I'm doing, and I hopefully someone can use it. And Kevin wrote me once, and he said, you don't know who will read one of your books and 13, 15, 20 years down the road will credit their success to something that they read in that book when they were kids.
Right.
You won't know, but
Right.
it'll happen. But it'll happen.
Yeah, when I published mine, I had people actually saying, well, people don't read anymore.
Readers are leaders, dear, and that's just how it works. And
Exactly. I
like
go,
you said,
"No, in my world,
the book in your hand, there's energy in those words. There's energy in that cover. There's energy on that ink. Everything is energy and frequency. Everything is a vibration, and it's there. And I know people want to go to the digital everything, but it's a lesser form of energy. I hate to say it, but that's just the truth of it.
Mhm. And speaking with the power words, with the dragon himself, with
Yeah. Yeah, they're gifted with at certain times with the ability to speak quite profoundly. And again, that's not me. That's coming from my primal friend who's popping those words at me.
Yeah. Do you ever think of Sean Connery, the dragon, or
I watch those movies, and
Right.
I see those voices in my head. I'm doing those voices, and if this ever would come to a film, I've already got actors picked out of who I want to play parts.
Okay,
And,
let's hear it.
well, for example, in the last book, we have the Count.
Mhm.
That's Matthew McConaughey will play the Count.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
Because he's that tall, dark, kind of mysterious fellow.
Right.
Thor, I can't think of his Hemsworth would
Mhm.
be at the end would be the Atlantean king.
Oh, well, that, of course.
And someone like Keanu Reeves could be like the dad, or Kefri Toth, the KT figure, who that Kefri Toth is KT,
Right.
is Kevin, and he could be that part. And the rest of the characters could fill in with different people, but I've got these things, and the voice you can think for the dragon of like Freeman. I can't think of his first name right now.
Oh, Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman could be the voice for the dragon.
Oh,
and
that's great.
It's like, these things like, this is really neat to have these people get involved with this, and especially Keanu and some, because he thinks in this kind of way. His life is kind of this philosophy. So he'd be a great guy to have in there. And McConaughey is a very, I think, Christian fella, very deeply faith. And it would be something that I think they would resonate with. But it's like, you got to find somebody that can start it to get it rolling.
Right. Yeah. Because when I was reading, I'm thinking, oh, this sounds like Sean Connery's. Like,
oh yeah, I loved those movies. Dragonheart, some of those other ones were.
Oh, Dragonheart. Yeah.
Those were great. And I have a vivid fantasy life of movies and things like that I like. I mean, I'm old enough. At 68, that's like, wow. To see the original Star Trek when it came out on TV and stuff like that really was neat, and it stays with you. And the very first Star Wars when it came out, so novel and new at the time, and those concepts that they brought out were spectacular in their own view. It wasn't just the cinematography and the setups. It was the hidden stuff, the messages behind some of this that
Right.
was really good.
Yeah.
And it's,
Well, then that's like, I think in your books too, because there's kind of a little bit of mystery behind all of it. And when it starts to roll out, you're just going, wow, like, and you get excited and that you use secret societies, kind of that
Yeah,
whole,
right.
and we were going to tap into that a little bit about your relationship with those societies this lifetime.
Well, yeah, see, part of Global could be considered a public secret society
Mhm.
because a lot of the teachings that are in there are brought from Kevin, who was, according to him, and I have no source to back up, to fact check this, that he was a member of what's called the Brotherhood.
Mhm.
And the Brotherhood is a secret society, very much in like the Illuminati type Freemasonry. That's the very top of the ring was, according to some people, the Brotherhood. Well, he left the Brotherhood. And I asked him one time, or the group we were in, I asked him, well, how did you get involved with the Brotherhood? He said, you don't get involved with them, they find you. And
See.
he was recruited at a young age and ended up being one of the most adept students that they had as far as his ability to absorb information at a rapid rate. And he eventually came to the conclusion that he needed to share that with the world in an open forum. That's how global information came about. And it was his way of teaching and presenting what had been kept sacred into the elites, and basically said, no, this needs to be exposed. It needs to be brought out. See, Andrew Carnegie went, Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich. It was a 20-year commission or 25-year from Andrew Carnegie. And he went against the wills of the Freemasons and some of the others, like Henry Ford, who were dead set against secret society knowledge, come out. And Carnegie was a Brotherhood member, as was Ford, according to Kevin, that this was not to be shared and it was not to go out because they kept it to themselves. They were the controllers of this energy. And Carnegie kind of broke the rules when he told Hill, I will introduce you to these people. It's your job to write what you find. And he wrote The Laws of Success in 16 Lessons and Think and Grow Rich from that experience or that challenge from Carnegie. And that's how those books started. And they are, according to what we learned from Kevin and Global, teachings from the Brotherhood.
Huh. I've read those, but I had no idea.
Most people don't. I mean, unless you get into this stuff, like I say, not to be obsessive about it, but unless you really want to take and delve into it.
Let's do.
And I think part of it is that mindset that you get when you decide you're not going to be a victim anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you go on that self-discovery course and eliminate certain words from your vocabulary and get a mindset like, okay, I choose these things and the consequences are mine and I will deal with it. I can survive. It's all going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard sometimes, really. It's very, very difficult to stay true to it to a degree because things happen that you just shake your head and go, how can this be the way it is? And I say, in order for the jack handle to hit me in the head, I have to be in that position for that to happen.
Right.
If you're walking down the street and a brick falls from a building and hits you, you have to be precisely at that time, at that moment, at that spot. Otherwise, it doesn't hit you.
Right.
So anything you did prior to that, it would miss.
Right.
So,
and then also like when you do things that, like when I almost was in a car accident,
right.
but made that one little change and
Yes.
I wasn't killed.
Right. Exactly. And Kevin was in somebody's training, said, you get a flat tire, you think, oh my gosh, I have a flat tire. He says, no, this is great. I have a flat tire. I'm going to learn something. And it's a mindset. It's that when the crap hits the fan, you dig up that nugget of gold. You look for that part that you can use because there's always something there.
Yeah. Yeah. It took me a long time with that. That's after my last divorce. It's kind of
Yeah.
takes a while to get through it, but you do, and you get to where you're neutral and you have a lot of healing to do, and it makes you stronger, wiser.
Yeah. It's you grow. And from my perspective, I can take that growth and put it back into, I think, a book.
Mhm.
And the one I'm kind of, the adult book is a look in your rear view mirror, reminiscence from an almost grumpy old man. And I'm taking my experiences as a baby boomer and historically going through some of the 50s and 60s and up to a point. But then the last half is going to be all my interpretations of how we screwed it up and what we're doing wrong. And I'll be politically incorrect from one spectrum to the other. I'll be probably banned on everything, but it's like, you know what? It's this is what my generation did this,
Right.
and we opened this gate or opened this door,
Mhm.
and unknowingly at the time maybe, but we're the root cause for a lot of the stuff that's happening right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Good and bad.
Yes, we have seen remarkable things from the Beatles on Sullivan to the moon landings to JFK to Reagan to Nixon to a host of other things, the assassinations of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and on of just phenomenal events that have happened, I think, in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And the technical side of thing has just been mind blowing from what was originally the V2 projects from World War II from the Germans to von Braun putting together the Saturn V to go to the moon. I mean, it's almost unbelievable, but
Right.
it happened.
And what we're going to do in the next 20 years is going to
Yeah.
make, because I'm a boomer too. I'll be 69 this year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're in the same. We
Yeah.
went through the same thing, the Vietnam and all that stuff, and just
Right.
there was a lot of bad. I shouldn't say bad. A lot of conflicting vibes that came out of that period.
Mhm.
And it was the aftermath of the trauma from World War II that the generation of babies that were born carried that trauma from the parents who went through it.
Right.
And it expressed itself in other ways because those genetic codes get transferred along.
Right. And you have to overcome those.
Yes.
First, you have to be aware of them, right? You have
Yes.
to be
Yes.
aware. And then you
Yes.
can have choice to change or not, but
Right.
they
Right.
change.
That's what makes it. I mean, it's awareness. It's
So
hopefully it comes out in the books, and hopefully it makes a certain amount of sense to people. And
and one of his I don't know if I should say it or not, but he meets this amazing girl.
yes,
And I love that part.
see, both of my boys right now don't want anything to do with women. Period. They just don't. And neither one of them cares to date. Wants to. It's like, eh. And so I said, all right, I'm going to take and make a little bit of a romance here in this one, and give her a couple of things that might make her very intriguing. And it's like,
Right.
when Ian, this is the aroma of someone, and maybe you've been around people that they have a fragrance. That's why dragons love fragrance,
Mhm.
is because it's just intoxicating within itself, and that fragrance opens up a love frequency that is almost instantaneous, and it's just like the big smile or whatever. And you come across people that you just love to be around because they just have that whatever that is just pleasant to engage in.
Right. They or it's like a god in toxicity or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's,
And
you know,
you can tell you can tell when someone has got it just right.
yeah.
And you can overkill it like anything else, and they're trying too hard. But there are those that you come across, and it doesn't have just the normal body fragrance. Mary Miller, before she passed, she said, I would do experiments with people, and I would put 20 people in a room, and I would blindfold everybody, and I would have one of the people, either male or female, go down the line and smell each person. And she said, you'd be amazed how they would come across someone who just smelled just perfect for them. And it was just an automatic attraction. He says, and it's
I
just
love
one of those really neat things to watch.
I get that though. It makes total sense too. There's something about smell that it really can be erotic too. It's
Oh
just
yeah. Yeah.
really-
It's one of those things like, it's like, okay. And that's why my dragons really have a profundity for pleasant fragrances.
right. Do you think that they really about their from all of my reading with dragons or conditioning with dragons with um their interest in gems and jewels, and that didn't come out as much. So I was interested why or why not.
Well, I didn't want them to be greedy grabbers. I didn't want them to be coveting possessions. I wanted them to respect them for having a connection to an experience, or as I described in the one book about holding information like the crystal skull, lineage, data,
Yeah.
remedies, helpful things that they could be inside of jewels or minerals or whatever that they could be useful for, data banks. But I didn't want them to sit there and be like in the Hobbit tales where Smaug was possessed with coveting gold amongst everything else. I didn't want them to be that way.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Well, and I think it kind of plays to people too. It's like you can't take any of the stuff with you when you transition out of here. So it's nice to have it, but it isn't the end all and be all of everything. It's like comfortable, yes. Crazy, not so much.
And that if we could value wisdom over money, let's say, or materialistic.
Yeah, I mean, but we're unfortunately right now, the way the system's set up, you have to have a certain amount of money to have any kind of freedom to explore anything else.
Right.
And that's kind of the downer on stuff. And a way to keep the thumb on everything is to not let people explore freedom while just keeping them in financial bondage to where they don't have the resources to get out. And if you have the mega resources to get out, you're pulled into the black side of things and you're part of the negativity and you're indoctrinated in that. And that's not good.
Right. So how do you walk the balance with that?
Somewhat. I mean, money has always been a bit of an issue. Kevin used to say that there will always be enough, that the universe is an abundant universe, and that your faith in it providing what you need when you need it will happen. And it usually works that way, but not the excesses to take the pressure off. So it's like the books. Okay, I spent way too much on getting things. I got way too many in my basement here that of the old versions you have that I would like to get out of people's hands, or if I give them away, that's fine. It's like the money is like, yeah, it would be nice, but other things will develop. And if I can keep the house and give it to the kids, I guess I'll be happy.
Right. And so let's say from the past where we get to have our ancestors or dragons and different guides that hold a lot of wisdom that can help us, that we always have these helpers. That's what I enjoyed, that there's always helpers available to you for some solutions that you may have not have even thought of at all.
Yeah, I think on a cosmic level, if you look at cosmology somewhat and you see how old the universe can be, and you actually put some logical thought to it and say, well, if it's the outer parts that are so many light years away from us, there have to be civilizations out there that are much, much older than us that have already gone through all this stuff that may very well be trying, as Michael says, trying to take and help us along a little bit. But it's knowledge that is in the ether. It's out there and it's connected. Greg Braden, the author, was in some things there about what he was talking about at different times about how the energy lines that they've been able to track in the universe are connected to everything connected to something else. There's no unknown vastness of nothingness. There's all this kind of stuff that's interwoven, and knowledge thought is instantaneous and it has no limits to physics, and it can go to the edges of the universe as quickly as you think it.
Right.
And Einstein and Edison both, when they were alive, said that a human brain is both a receiver and transmitter of energy, and that energy is instantaneous. So there's nothing barriers between it. So you can get that, though it's already been done someplace else is out there, you can access it. And I think the more people, I wished I could better. I think the gurus and the meditators and a lot Dalai Lamas and people like that tap into that better.
Yeah, that's what a psychic does, you know.
Yeah. Oh, probably. Yeah, you're probably right there. So I'm probably talking to the choir. You're nodding your head and saying, "Okay, you know, you're full of beans," but
not at all. We're
but
like,
but you understand that yeah, this is not. It's there. You just have
it's
to
real.
dial the right numbers, and it's there. The
Yeah.
things of. That's why I'm such a believer in reincarnation. And it's like, okay, you gain, I think, a certain amount of spiritual freedom when you accept that possibility, because it takes all the pressure off of the now that you're in, and it alleviates you from being a subject to a theology or a creed or a dogma that is not serving your best interest.
Right. Ooh, and it's and that we're really are multidimensional beings, right? There's so much of us that we're like stepping into this amazing body that we have. That's
when I had my heart attack, it was almost 3 years ago, and it came out of no place, and I had a stomach ache that was really bad, and I ended up. My wife took me in because I said something's wrong, and the emergency room people said, "Okay, ask me a question. Well, I'll put EKG on you," and it was like, "You're having a heart attack like right now."
Oh, geez.
And I had 100% blockage in the widowmaker, which I didn't even know what it was because I heart never hurt, it hasn't hurt ever since. But it was like one of those situations that you've been there in a cat lab and they're trying to put a stent in you to keep you alive, and you come to that realization, you know, I could die at any moment. It's like, holy crap. And it's an eye opener. It really takes and changes how you see the world and what you think about. And it's like, okay, I came through that all very well. So there's reasons for it. So let's do something positive with what we have left.
Exactly. That's what the NDEers say. I'm an NDEer myself. And so, you know, every day is such a gift, and that we get to create or manifest something, not only for ourselves and for our loved ones, but for humanity at large. And that's why I had you on the show.
Ian got called in from college, which was only about an hour away. And he came in because it was like the nurses kept telling my wife, bring everybody in because I could pop off at any second. And he gets in there and looks around and sees things going on in the ER or in the ICU. And he says, well, this is kind of like a non-event. So we get to use that against him at all times, because I said, what did you expect to see me on the table with the paddles going charge and whacking all that going on? And he said, well, actually, yeah. And,
that would have been cool, right?
Yeah.
And
I got to thinking about, you say about NDEs, I almost wish maybe I had one, but then again, maybe I didn't because I might not have made it back. So it's like, okay, this is all right the way it is.
You got the wake up. You didn't have to get like me. I needed a real big wake up. Okay?
Yeah, it's like that's an experience.
You just a little tap. Right?
I read Moody's books about it way back and says, yeah, this makes sense. And I've always read metaphysical things, and I rebelled against standard religion at a young age, and I've always been a little on the wild side of my thinking. But I think we're an odd group of people that view things from a slightly different perspective.
Thank goodness.
I hope. I mean, I hope it goes.
I always say thank you when someone says I'm a weirdo. Thank you, and that I'm a member in the new weird order. You know.
Yeah. You get to that point where you start looking at things in your family genetics, and you say, "Man, I don't have that much time left according to the family tree, so I better take and make use of it." Yeah. Because there's a lot I want to do. There's a lot I want to take and experience yet. And and it's like you've got to take and start you got to let a lot of the petty stuff go and try and focus in on what's essential.
Right. And I love in your book, it's about love and family and those
Yeah.
basic things that are
Even
really,
if it isn't quite exactly how things are at home all the time, it's how
Right.
you envision they could be.
right, right.
And you put those elements into play to where you could look at it and say, this is nice.
Yeah.
And it's not a Hallmark card, but it's like, this would be nice.
It is, and I really recommend them, everyone, to all of our listeners, and the Tales of Ian and Bry-Ankh, The Great Silver Dragon by Jim Dillyard. And I love the back. Wanted to show the back.
That's my Atlantean sword.
Yes, it's amazing. It was so really fun. So I want to thank you, Jim, for being on the show.
Oh,
and
you're more than
for
welcome.
sharing your wisdom and your passion for your work. And I wish you great adventures in the writing era and zones and portals. And may your dragon bring you many, many words of wisdom and continue your work with.
I had a wonderful time. And I appreciate your thinking about it and promoting of it, and just the fact that I had a chance to talk about stuff for a while. That's really, it was nice.
Thank you. And so our people, you can go to Jim's website at greatsilverdragon.com.
Yes.
Check out his work, and that's greatsilverdragon.com. And you were the winner of the 2014-2015 Great Writers, I saw.
Yeah, they had a contest out there with that you could take and submit people that have read your books to get in there. And if you had enough people take a look and like your stuff and sign you up or do something on your behalf, you could end up as a contest winner for it. It was kind of nice to have enough people take a look at the stuff and tag in and say, oh yeah, I like his books.
I love it. Well, thanks again, everyone, for dropping in to the Cosmic Oracle Show today. Have a fabulous week. Next weekend, next Friday, I will be having my dear, dear friend Karen Swain will be our guest. You will love her. You'll love her work. She's been working with indie ears for over 20 years. She has a radio show. She's out of Australia. You'll just love her like I do. We're going to be just talking about all the things happening there in Australia and her work with these amazing, amazing healers and teachers and masters from all over the world that she's been able to sit down with as well. So, and we don't kind of do the same things, but on different sides of the planet. And so we're not in competition, we're in agreement. So thanks, everyone. Love you. Much love to everyone. Thanks again, Jim. And we'll see you all next week. And let's see.
Hopefully that worked out okay.
Yes, let's see. Recording pause. Yes, recording paused. So recorded pause. It's still live on Facebook, so we'll